What's up, guys? It's NFL Week 12, and this is your Fanduel NFL Week 12 first look. We're just going to go over the player pool, take a look at some of the matchups, take a look at some situations that are likely to develop over the course of the week. We'll get some stuff figured out, and basically get ready for NFL Week 12 on Fanduel main slate action. All right, as you guys know, when we do these breakdowns, the first thing I really like to look at are some of the matchups to get an idea of some areas which we should be looking to target and just a little overview of some of these games. So I've got the DFS Army Domination Station loaded. We've got our game tiles loaded on screen. We've got our team totals, our game totals, most of what we need to get a feel for this week's slate. And let's run through it. We'll go through this, and then we'll jump over to the player pool, look for some players, some spots to pay attention to and to load up on for NFL Week 12. Starting with this Patriots-Bengals game, 49.5 point total. Patriots team looks really good here. Bengals defense is epically bad. One of the worst ever, right? Bengals are going to be without Jamar Chase in this game, which is probably going to focus targets on everybody else in the game. I'm a little bit concerned about T. Higgins being covered by Christian Gonzalez. This might be a Yoshivas game for the Bengals. I'm not so sure how we're going to, how that Bengals offense is going to perform at home. But what I will say about this one is if Ramondre Stevenson is out, or if we can have any kind of confidence that Trevion Henderson will continue to get the bulk of the carries for the Patriots, this is an absolute smash spot for Trev. So we're going to pay attention to that. Most importantly, Ramondre. I do not trust the coach that if Ramondre comes back, that he won't split the carries or do something to ruin the situation. Even with a split carry, I don't mind Trevion Henderson, but I certainly would prefer if it wasn't in that situation. So that's something to pay attention to in that game. Moving on, we've got the Jets at the Ravens. Jets are rolling out Tyrod Taylor in this game. That might actually be good in some ways. It's certainly better than not having him or what Justin Fields has been doing. But this is an absolute domination situation by the Ravens. And the most standout play in this game to me is going to be Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry absolutely crushes in these types of spots when the Ravens are heavy favored, especially at home. So this could be one of those Derrick Henry multi-touchdown smash in your face performances where he goes beast mode all over you. Keep in mind. Seahawks at the Titans. Titans are terrible. Seahawks defense is good. The only thing to pay attention to here is maybe there's some cheap running backs on the Seahawks that we might want to take some shots on, Charbonnet or Kenny Walker. But most importantly, I mean, you hate them because they're splitting carries and it's not great, but at least they're priced down. But in this one, the main thing is Seahawks defense, even on the road here in a smash spot. That's probably as far as I want to go, and maybe some GPP upside shots on some of those running backs. Next, we got the Colts of the Chiefs. This one is exciting, 49.5 point total. Both defenses are pretty good, but not anything that we have to be fully fearful of, right? Flip side, KC is not going to allow Jonathan Taylor to run for 3 touchdowns and hundreds of yards. They're going to play to stop that. Spagnuolo is one of the better defensive coordinators in the game. He will be prepared for Jonathan Taylor, which means, listen, there's a cause and effect. Taylor crushing it. The cause from that is we're going to now game plan to stop the run. What's the effect of that? The effect of that is all of a sudden, some of the passing lanes open up. So in this game, I think Danny Jones, pass catchers, Warren, Pierce, very interesting pieces. On the KC side, same deal. They're not going to really run for too many touchdowns. They're going to be throwing for touchdowns. So Mahomes, Rice, whatever else we want to do on KC, I think this game has a lot of upside, and it's something I want to build around overall in NFL Week 12. All right, next up, we got the Steelers at the Bears. I think this is a sketchy spot for the Steelers. The biggest thing that's interesting here on the Steelers side is with Jaylen Warren likely out for this and the next few weeks, will they give the bulk of the carries to Kenny Gainwell? The evidence from last week was that they will. So we'll pay attention, but Kenny Gainwell is a bargain piece on the slate going up against a not that great Bears rush defense. That's an interesting spot to target. On the Bears side, and of course, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, but Aaron Rodgers is one of those warriors that's going to try to play injured. But if he does, I really want nothing. I want even less to do with that Steelers offense. And this actually could even be, and dare I say, I think it's blasphemous, but could this even be a Bears defense spot? I think it's worth considering, especially if Mason Rudolph plays in this one. On the Bears side of it, Caleb Williams splits home versus away are crazy. He's much, much better at home. So this could be another spot for Caleb Williams to maybe pop a little bit, although, it doesn't stand out as one of the best spots, but it is interesting this week. We got the Vikings at the Packers, and the main interest I have in this game is Packers defense. Vikings offense under McCarthy is not good. So I don't want anything to do with that, especially not against an elite defensive team like the Packers. So it's really just the Packers side. Now, again, on the Packers side, we have a couple of interesting situations brewing. First of all, if Josh Jacobs is out, I'm going to call Emmanuel Wilson one of the, if not the best plays on a points per dollar basis on this entire slate. It is the kind of play that I personally, not saying you should do this, but that when those situations pop up, I go all in. Like Emmanuel Wilson starting, no backups on the team of note against the Vikings. Vikings defense pretty good, but their offense is so bad. They're going to give so many opportunities to opposing offenses to get the ball. That's borderline an all-in spot. So we're going to pay attention to that situation closely. I like the Wilson spot a bit better than the Gainwell spot, given all other things being equal. All right, next up, we got the Giants at the Lions. Let's go. Dart coming back? Maybe. Love Dart. Go right back to it, right? Giants, more competitive with Dart in there. I actually think that this game with Dart at quarterback for the Giants could be competitive on both sides. I think we can get a lot of goodness out of the Lions offense as well. They have the highest total on the slate at 30.25. That's a massive amount of scoring. That's 3.5 touchdowns projected. A lot of touchdowns to go around. Amon-Ra, Gibbs. We have a lot of weapons. They did cut off the prime weapon of Laporta, but they added Brock Wright, who's effectively just as good for Stoneman salary. I'm going to say just as good. His production will probably be not that different. So really exciting game. This is one to keep an eye on. Lions team total is massive. We want to get pieces from that team. And of course, on the Giants side, if I'm playing Dart or Dart to Wandale or Dart to Theo or some combination like that, I'm not sure Slayton's healthy for this one. I absolutely want to bring it back with pieces from the Lions because that would cause this game to go absolutely bonkers. And that's what we want. That's how you win tournaments. All right, next up, we got the Jaguars at the Cardinals. Jaguars are favored in this game. And, I'm throwing my hands up in the air and I'm going to wave them like I just don't care because I don't know what's going on. Jaguars are kind of like, I don't know, they're perceived in my mind a little bit better than maybe what I thought they were going to be and what my eyes show me that they are. So maybe they're a little bit better than I thought. They have a good coach. It's coming around for them. The offense, not quite clicking yet, but their defense has been pretty good. We got to watch the running back situation with the Jaguars because Bajal Tootin seemed to be taking over the main role from Travis Etienne last week, and then he got hurt. And Etienne ended up having a really big week, and Bajal Tootin had a pretty good week too. Now I don't know what's going on, right? Will Tootin come back? Will he, won't he? If Bajal Tootin is out, I actually think that even Travis Etienne is probably playable in this game. Why not, right? He'll get all the run. And on the flip, the pass catchers for the Jaguars are also viable here. All of them, whichever one you want. This is the Cardinals team. This game has some blow-up potential. Last week, Jacoby Brissett was featured here on this breakdown as one of the top plays of the week. Of course, he was the nuts play. If you played him, it was either Brissett or Josh Allen last week, and they were both featured here on the breakdown. Either one of them could have helped you win the Sunday Million on Fanduel. I'm going back to Brissett this week, but with less enthusiasm, a little bit less enthusiasm than last week's matchup, which was a little better. Still, Cardinals are at home. I don't think the Jaguars are really fully equipped to just dominate and stop them. And I actually think that the Jaguars are set up for a disappointment after that kind of, let's call it exuberating win from last week, right? They beat the unexpected win. They beat the Chargers. Now, coming off that win, it's prime letdown mode, especially as road favorites. We know that road favorites have not been a very good thing this year. It's been one of the worst things to target. So Cardinals offense, we'll figure out who their running back is. I'm not so sure I'm interested there. And on the Jaguar side, I really don't mind bringbacks either with the running back or ideally, one of those pass catchers on the Jaguars. All right, moving on The next game on the docket here, we got Shedeur Sanders and the Browns heading out to Vegas to take on the Raiders. This is an interesting spot. The game total is garbage. And the first thing I'm going to suggest is this is a bet the over spot, especially on the Browns team total. The Raiders are not good. I think the Browns can get 16 points with Shedeur Sanders, really just focusing on the run. Judkins, right? But also, I'm kind of interested in Jerry Jeudy or like the pass catchers, if it's Tillman or Jeudy here. These are your GPP spots, right? Because we know the Raiders defense is not very good, right? So the assumption is, well, the Browns offense stinks too, so that doesn't matter. And a lot of times that does come together. But what if it doesn't? What if the Browns offense under Shedeur Sanders looks a little more dynamic, right? A, I think they play to the over. And B, I think maybe they could carry a running back or a pass catcher in a game against the Raiders, assuming that the Browns are winning it, right? So kind of like that spot. I don't think we need anything from the Raiders to make it work. I think I'm going to be somewhat interested in some pieces from the Browns, just in case Shedeur got that magic, right? Well, he might not have the magic, but first start ever, he might have that magic. Sneaky, right? Hate, throw it to me in the comments if you don't like the plays. I'm all about it. I love it. I take it all in. All right. Next up, this game has a lot of potential. It really could go either way, but it has a lot of potential to pop. Eagles at the Cowboys. Cowboys at home in the dome. Weather-controlled environment. Eagles defense, elite. As good as it gets in the NFL or right up there. Best defenses. We've seen a lot of these Eagles games where the opponents just cannot move the football. Fine. Now, Dallas offense is really good, but I actually think the Eagles defensively should be able to slow them down pretty well if they're on their game. Sometimes you show up and you're off your game, but if they're on their game, but if Dallas is scoring, right, and the Eagles have to answer, I think they're equipped to answer against this Dallas defense, right? Dallas defense has been absolutely horrific at times. Other times it looks semi-competent, but for the most part, they're not very good. So, man, as much as it pains me, I think we got to go back to Hurts. I think Devontae Smith and Goddard are in play. And actually, I think this could be a really good game for Saquon Barkley on that side of it. I'm actually weirdly less interested in pieces from Dallas as of this moment. I'm not sure this is the spot to target that offense, which has been priced up for smash games when they're only projected to score 22, right? We want the Dallas players are already inflated salaries because of the games that they've been having in the smashes. So that's a word of caution there. All right, last game on the docket. This one also has a little bit of silly for the Millie appeal, not much mainstream appeal, let's call it that. We got the Falcons at the Saints. Falcons lose Michael Penix for the season, going back to Kirk Cousins, who has looked as dusty and washed as a quarterback can look in his few starts so far this year. Can he knock the dust off this week and start to look better? Anything's possible. Anything is possible. Certainly possible here. It's a good matchup for them. But they also lose Drake London, which will propel Kyle Pitts and Darnell Mooney into a more voluminous role for the offense than what they normally have. Will that lead to anything? It depends on if Kirk Cousins is fully dusted or not. We will find out, right? But I think in DFS, we have to look at what can be unburdened by what has been. So we can't worry about like last week. We got to see what can be this week, right? So I think it's worth some, I'm going to call it GPP long shot risks, okay? Whatever we want to call it. Flip side of this game, Tyler Shook back and starting for the Saints. I really haven't paid a lot of attention to Tyler Shook. Not really sure what to make of it, but I know that Chris Olave had a pretty good game with him the last time out. So we'll take a look at that as we go through the player pool and try to get this figured out. All right, guys, you made it through the matchup breakdown. Now let's get into the player pool portion of this breakdown. And again, just I would ask if you're enjoying this video and you enjoy FanDuel content, because again, not a lot of people doing FanDuel content. I get a lot of requests for it, but let me know in the comments. Hey, I'm a FanDuel guy. I love the shit. I love FanDuel. I'm a fan. I play FanDuel every week. I'm a fan of the duel. All right, let's get into it. Quarterback position on FanDuel. So week 12, and it starts at the top. So they've got Jalen Hurts priced up as the highest priced guy on the slate. Interesting difference between FanDuel and DraftKings, where DraftKings does not. It has Drake May the highest. Do with that what you will. I mean, Hurts gets the nuts matchup at Dallas against a Dallas team that can score. This could be a blow-up spot. So I don't have any problem using Hurts at any price point, all the way up to 9K on FanDuel, as long as we have the salary relief elsewhere to make it happen. That being said, Hurts has not been his usual self. The biggest problem with Jalen Hurts in my mind this year, and I don't know what you guys are seeing, but what I'm seeing is a guy that is not running the football as much as he had in the past. Now, he does scramble, and these are scrambles, but what the issue, and of course he'll get a tush push into the end zone here and there, but the issue for me is these are not design runs. So really, he'll break a scramble, but I believe this team is coaching him to run less. They're trying to manage his health situation. And as much as that might be great for the real world, for the real life Eagles team, we're trying to make I don't care about that. All I care about is his fantasy score this weekend. And it's not that great for that, which has caused his overall production to be pretty muted in 2025. If you look at his game logs, there's nothing special. We haven't crossed 30 even once. We've got some 25s, and a lot of those big games or semi-big games have come because of rushing touchdowns, not because of passing work. This is 2 rushing touchdowns, still only got a 24. So there are definitely some red flags with Jalen Hurts up top, especially at this price. But of course, he gets the nut matchup. And so maybe we'll worry about those red flags like next week when he's up against a less bad defense. Lamar is not in a spot that I normally like to play Lamar. Non-competitive matchup against the Jets. I think this is a Derrick Henry game, so I'm not into it. Drake May on the road at the Bengals. Already talked about this game, but are the Bengals really going to be able to push Drake May to surpass his season high in fantasy point? I need a 30. His best game so far this year has been a 27. He's been a better in real life quarterback than he has been a, pay up stud DFS quarterback. So I'll probably leave Drake May alone for the most part. I think they can lean heavy on Trevion Henderson in this game. If I was to play him, I don't know, maybe stacked with Hunter or Diggs or something like that. But he's a very tough quarterback to figure out. All right, next up we got Mahomes, 8,100 at home against the Colts. I do like this spot. All right, Mahomes, comfortable stack with Rashee Rice, comfortable stack with Xavier Worthy, or even to a lesser extent, Travis Kelce. So this game has a lot of pop potential. I do think it will hit, and Mahomes is a great way to get exposure to it. Of course, on the flip side, Danny Dimes is fine as well. Although I wish I was getting more of a discount to Dimes than 300. Like, it's hard to really see Jones outscoring Mahomes, but he could. It's not out of the question. Next up, Jared Goff. Jared Goff, 8K in that matchup against the Giants. I talked about it at the onset. This does have some blow-up potential with Jackson Dart making the Giants side a little more competitive than I think they're being given credit for right now. So that assumes Dart plays. If Dart doesn't play, I mean, it's out the window. Actually, it'd be a fun spot for Jameis Winston, but not anything where I think they can keep it competitive. So that's if Dart plays. I kind of, I don't normally play Jared Goff in DFS. He is a disappointment machine more often than not. When it comes to, his scores, we have 2, tournament-worthy performances out of, 10 so far this year. So this guy's, when he's not hitting a 20%, let's call it outcome, a lot of times he's kind of disappointing, especially for this price point. So I'd rather probably not touch that one, or at least not touch it now. Same deal with Dak. As great as Dak has been this year, Eagles defense is not one that I'm looking to proactively target. So I'm going to avoid that one for this. But of course, Dak has been great, and it's important to note that he's been absolutely smashing all year, 24, averaging 20.5, but getting a lot of these mid-20s type scores. Again, we really need to break into the 30s for a player at this price point to matter all that much. Like, we can get these types of 25s out of some of the less expensive quarterbacks. So we really need a greater than that score to make it worthwhile. Already talked about Danny Jones. Caleb Williams at home. Just take a look at the home away splits here, guys. It's dramatic. Now, we've seen this with quarterbacks in the past. I remember years ago, Ben Roethlisberger had something like this, and it took a couple of years into his career for that to sort of subside. So this is not that strange of a phenomenon. But for the most part, outside of that Bengals game, which was the Bengals, on the road, 10. At home, 25. Yeah, the Bengals game aside, on the road, 12. At home, this was that game where they relied heavy on the running backs, but they won it. It's not showing here, but this was a nice, easy win for the Bears. So I'm not going to hold that against them. Easy win, right? But again, on the road, 19, on the road, 12, at home, 29, road, 17, home, 25. The point is, this kid's way better at home this season than on the road. He gets a nut matchup this week at home against the sort of mediocre Steelers defense. They're not that good. They're allowing effectively the 7th most fantasy points per game so far to opposing quarterbacks. That being said, that number has been declining. It was like 31st or 30. They were the worst in the league a few weeks ago. So they've been playing a little bit better defensively. But again, back on the road here. I like this game. So I think Caleb is somebody we can target. And I have a sneaky target for stacks with Caleb. We'll get to that when we talk about wide receivers. But yes, I have a sneaky stack with Caleb beyond Rome and the obvious Loveland and Rome. There's a third guy that I want to mention here, and it's not DJ Moore. So you could do the math. Jackson Dart, I already talked about him. Dart's on the slate. I'm playing Dart. Okay? I'm just letting you know. He's on the slate. I'm playing lineups with Dart. Dart is the man. Every time he's been out there, he's been great. Even when he gets concussed, he still delivered a spectacular performance before getting knocked out of the game. Look at all these rushing yards. Look at all these passing yards. The guy is GOAT. Stop doubting it. Play Dart. I'm in. I don't know whether he's going to play, so I'm not going to put him up top in this one, but Dart is absolutely one of my favorites. Caleb, a lot of really good spots here to target this week. Flacco is not the week for him without Jamar Chase. Tough matchup, even though they're at home, so I'm going to pass on that one. Darnold at Tennessee, I don't think they'll need him. Passing on it, right? Next up, Brissett, though. Oh, yeah. Jacoby. So we know Jacoby's playing. He's in there. 47 completions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns. What a game, right? Can he do it again? Probably not. But Brissett's been really good. Now, the negative for Brissett this week on here on Fanduel is, stacking him up with McBride is getting really expensive at $8,500. They have jacked up the McBride price point to a level that I'm getting uncomfortable with. So there's that. But Brissett, as a standalone play, has not had a game below 19.4, I guess I'm going to say it. He's been at 19.5 and then better than that for all 5 of his starts so far. So at 7K, 714.21, we really need about a 22 or a 23 to hit, QB value on FanDuel for Brissett. I think that's well within reach here in this matchup at home against the Jaguars. Let's go right back to it. All right, Jordan Love, know what else to say. Meh, right? Mason Rudolph, I don't know, right? Probably not somebody I'm going to be super excited about, although there's maybe some interest there, I guess. The next quarterback, though, Cousins washed, right? We can't go there. Shook and Geno. Let's see what Tyler Shook did in his last start. 19 completions, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know what? Not bad, right? Did okay. So Tyler Shook was less bad in that start against Carolina. He had a couple tough matchups before that, but he gets another pretty cake matchup here at home against the Falcons. So if we want to get silly for the Millie, Tyler Shook, mild interest. Guys, if you want to play JJ McCarthy, like a lot of people did last week, everybody chalked it up. People, not people watching this show, but in the DFS space, you made JJ McCarthy one of the chalk pieces. If you're looking for somebody to tell you to play JJ McCarthy as chalk in GPP tournaments, that you have to go. This is not the video for you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to lead you down that road. We told you last week that only morons were playing JJ McCarthy. Why would you? This kid stinks. Why the hell would you? Look at this. 1 touchdown, 200. You know who he reminds me of? I've said it week after week after week. This kid reminds me of Zach Wilson. Keep your mothers or your wives away from him. Keep the Cougars away. But as far as an NFL quarterback goes, he has not shown that he has that skill set yet. It could still come. I'm not writing the kid off. I do like that he runs the football a little bit, that he scrambles a little bit. Great. Thank you very much. I'll take it. Right? Run for a touchdown. it won't be that bad. But, you know, I'm not playing this kid until he shows he's an NFL quarterback, and certainly not in this matchup against the Packers. So stop. And whoever told you to play him last week, I want you to really rethink why you thought that that person was somebody to listen to. Okay. Next up, one of my favorites, Shedeur Sanders. Now, when I say one of my favorites, I mean it's a pay down option. It's unowned, but most important, it's super silly for the mill. It's like stupid. This is stupid play. But they're up against the Raiders. Like if you ever wanted a team to target with a young player, they have a terrible defense, terrible team across the board. You can smash the Raiders. Is Shedeur Sanders any good? Probably not. Right? He might be complete garbage. But if he can come in and play some competent ball, which again is a massive if. This guy is a third stringer for a reason. But if he could do it, he could kind of shock the world for low ownership, or at least right now, I assume that by the time the games come around or ownership projections come out, all of this might be moot. If he's going to be the chalk, we're getting off of that. But early week thoughts, I'd say Shook and Sanders both have some limited eyebrow raising appeal. I gotta get like an Arsenio Hall, like things that make you go, reference for the videos, except the problem is no one knows who Arsenio Hall even is anymore. And no one remembers things that make you go, but I remember it. You guys remember that? Let me know in the comments. You almost have to be my age or older, which who knows? All right. I've left Jacoby Brissett in there, but realistically, my heart, my soul, my love really goes to Dart. So we can put him up there as well. Any one of these spots, Caleb Williams. So just a brief recap of the quarterback position this week. Hurts, yes. Mahomes and Danny Jones, yes and yes. Jared Goff, mayhaps, right? Caleb Williams, maybe. GPP, right? Tournament only. Jackson Dart, playable in all formats. Brissett, love. And then, of course, the two cheap quarterbacks, Sanders and Tyler Shook. Silly for the millie, for shits and gigs type of play. All right, guys, let's take a look at the running back position here on FanDuel. I always go 3 running back on FanDuel. FanDuel is a format that absolutely rewards the running backs. All right, obviously at the very top here, we've got Jonathan Taylor. I do not like the matchup for Jonathan Taylor. I mentioned it earlier. Spags is going to do everything he can in game planning, knowing that he needs to slow down Taylor. So I don't see the 3 touchdowns happening in this one, and certainly not the 35 plus FanDuel points he's going to need to pay off on the salary level. So again, buyer beware this week on Taylor. Love the player. He's been great this year, but maybe this is a week at that price to look elsewhere. I'm going to be looking for some bargain plays at running back, which we have available to us. So why not? Right? Bijan, also great guy, great play, the whole thing. Decent matchup. Bijan gets a lot more of the carries last week, coming off that, rough game where I didn't feel like he got as much volume as we'd be happy with. He comes back and he pops for 100 yards, 5 targets, 2 touchdowns. Let's just take a look at the Algerian to see Algier to see what he did last week. See, look at the difference here. They did not play Algier. They said, hey, and he still stole a touchdown, by the way, on 3 rushing attempts. He still vultured one, but overall, they definitely deferred a little bit to Bijan. But it's also a reminder that Algerian is always going to be out there terrorizing the Bijan owners by being this vulture. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9,100 against the Giants, the 29th ranked Giants rush defense. What more can you ask for? If this game is competitive at all, this could be one of those spots where Jammy puts up, a 30-plus pointer at 9K, 1936. We only need about 27 from Jahmyr at 9K to hit FanDuel value. I think he's within range of that. Saquon Barkley as well gets the nuts matchup against the Cowboys. I haven't played a lot of Saquon this season. He had the one really good game, a lot of disappointing games, but this is a spot where Saquon can shine. So I don't mind going right back to him. I wish the price was less. 9K is tough to stomach, but it's a spot I want to have exposure to. I prefer Gibbs. I certainly prefer Bijan. So Barkley kind of makes for a bit of a tournament pivot for me rather than a primary play. Derrick Henry, same deal. Derrick Henry is a home favorite, heavy favorite, has absolutely crushed throughout his career. Don't overthink it. He's playable. I don't love the price either here, but he's very much in play. Flip side of that, Javonte Williams is a home dog. Not as sexy for me. Eagles defense, really good. And this price point is kind of high for Javonte. He'd need a lot of kind of variance to drop in his favor for that to work. I do want to talk about Judkins. I think Judkins could have a great game here. I think they could lean heavy on him. They haven't been kind of favored in a while, but as a favorite, I think Judkins is in his best possible situation. One downside for Judkins is he doesn't catch a lot of passes, but that's less important on FanDuel compared to DraftKings. The PPR upside isn't really very good. I don't love the price at 7,700. I wish we were kind of at a 6,700 number. I'd be really excited about it. But Judkins, regardless, this game sets up well for him. Now, Trevion Henderson at 7,500, in my opinion, would be the best play on this entire slate if Ramondre Stevenson is out. So we just have to pay attention to it. I'm going to plug him into this lineup. I love this price. I love this matchup. I love the defense, how bad it is. Bengals can't stop anything. I even think that there's a possibility that even if Ramondre does play, that Trevion could pay off the salary level, but it's too early in the week. I simply don't know what's going to happen there. So I'm going to plug him in, but keeping in mind that this is smash lock button play. If Ramondre is out, if Ramondre plays, it's still fine, but not as exciting. And you kind of feel like Vrabel, the head coach of the Patriots, will fuck us, right? All of a sudden, you're going to be like, of course he's going to play Trevion. He did so great. And then it's a deferring to the veteran and all that bullshit. I guess we'll see. Genty against Cleveland is a no for me, dog. Breece Hall, at this point, the Jets offense, as good as that matchup is GPP only, right? I don't want a heavy underdog running back, even though Breece Hall could actually do something in a game like that. Walker's too expensive here. ETN is only interesting to me if Bajal Tootin is out. But if Tootin is out, then he's very interesting as well. So let's pay attention to Bajal Tootin to figure out what to do with the Travis Etienne play. Etienne winds up when Tootin came out of the game, having a big game last week. But if you watched it, you noticed that Tootin was the better looking player. And he was getting actually more work. And he was looking better overall. So it was like a 50-50 split. But if things swing back or if this guy is out, I actually think we could play Etienne. I haven't played Etienne, I don't think, at all this year, but this could be a spot to do it. Jacksonville is favored in this matchup. Chaz Bro, a.k.a. Chase Brown, as a great week last week, or pretty good week last week. Almost got the bonus. Oh, so close. I had a lot of Chaz Bro last week, and he got it done without even scoring a touchdown, which is what you want to see, right? He didn't quite get it done on FanDuel, but on DraftKings scoring, yes. Difference here this week, gets a brutal matchup against an elite Patriots rush defense. It's a no for me, dog. Swift, same idea. Swift is just not getting the goal line work that I want to see from him, with Monangai now sort of stepping up and getting more of the touches. So it's a no for me, dog, on that one as well. Montgomery, fine, but no, right? Aaron Jones, brutal matchup, no. And we get down here to just Manny being Manny Wilson. And I'm going to plug this guy in as well. Listen, if Josh Jacobs plays, forget it. It's done. No bueno. But if Josh Jacobs is out this week, Wilson represents what I think is probably one of the, if not the best plays at running back on the slate, similar to Trevion. If these guys don't have the starters in, I'm going to have this combination everywhere. Both sides too, FanDuel and DraftKings. So I'm going to leave it in here for now because I need to point out how awesome that play is, right? Now, remember, on FanDuel, we like to roll 3 running backs. FanDuel is a very touchdown-dependent format, and if you ever look at player props, you'll note that most running backs are like minus 120 or minus 150 or minus 170 to score a touchdown, whereas the best wide receivers are plus 130, plus 160, plus 180. So the format absolutely favors running backs in the flex, so we're going to be using 2 of them. Kareem Hunt, you know, the name I want to really mention here is Kenny Gainwell as well. So I talked about it in the matchup breakdown, but Kenny Gainwell is going to be without Jaylen Warren this week. Does that mean they won't bring up Caleb Johnson or find some other turd to roll out at running back to sort of mute how many touches Kenny Gainwell can get. I don't know, right? I don't know. But in general, Gainwell got a bunch of targets last week, got some carries, didn't look that great carrying the football against Cincinnati, which is unimpressive, but he torched them through the air. That's fine. Again, do I like the play as much as Manny Wilson? No. But we know that Pittsburgh is going to lean somewhat heavy on the run, especially with Aaron Rodgers banged up. So I don't mind the spot. Not as sexy as the Wilson or Trevion Henderson plays if their respective starters are out. Moving on. Yeah, Zach Charbonnet has some GPP appeal for me. Nothing more. Zonovan Knight, nah, I don't think so. Right? I know that he might be starting for Arizona and might actually be a good spot, but I'm not ready to commit to that this early in the week. Let's take a look at Ramondre's news alerts here and see if there's anything new. He expects to practice Wednesday, so I guess we'll see if that happens. Bajal Tutin, ankle injury, so we'll find out what happened there. Amari DeMercado out. That's again open up that Bam Knight play, but I have a feeling that with Zani Knight, they'll pull somebody else out of the dustbin and not give him enough touches to be meaningful. Like a Michael Carter, all of a sudden this guy shows up. Like, where did he come from? He's back in there. All right, that does it for the running back position. We plugged in 3 bargain basement running backs, or mostly the bargain ones, and we'll see at the end if we can upgrade them or what we want to do if we're going to call this a lineup, right? Okay, let's jump over to defense next, and then we'll go to wide receiver and tight end. I'm going to go defense first because I just want to kind of get a feel for how low can we go on defense and still feel okay about it. And I see the spot right off the bat. The first defense that pops for me is going to be the Saints here because Kirk Cousins is freaking dust, or I think he might be. 3,200 Stoneman for a Saints team that's not that bad defensively. Their problems are on offense, but I like that spot for sure. Right? Give me the Saints 3,200. Cowboys, no. Cardinals, maybe. Jacksonville offense not that good, so Cardinals, I'll give them a maybe. Jets, no. Vikings, no. Raiders, maybe, right? Shedeur Sanders, rookie, first start. Maybe the Raiders can do some work defensively against the rookie. So I'd be okay with it, somebody playing the Raiders here. Falcons, probably not. Chiefs, probably not. Bears, maybe on the Bears just because it is Mason Rudolph, but he's not that bad, right? He's not that bad. Jaguars, probably not, although maybe, but probably not. Colts, no. Steelers, no. Browns, yes. So we can definitely play the Browns at Vegas. Browns are primarily a defensive team, and the Raiders have been terrible at protecting Geno Smith. So I see lots of turnovers and potential sacks in this game. So I don't mind that, but that's an intense pay up, right? Eagles, no. Ravens against the Jets, yes, right? We could play the Ravens at home against any kind of version of the Jets that show up. They stink. Lions, no. We don't play defenses against Dart. Dart is freaking GOAT. Accept it, internalize it, and move on. Patriots here on the road at Cincinnati, sure, playable as well. And of course, Packers, I'm going to say probably, yeah, Seattle will be the best defense on this slate. Packers and Seattle will be the top 2 for me. Packers at home, Seattle on the road. But of course, I don't want to spend $5K, right? I'm going to spend down to the Saints, save the money, and put more studs in my lineup. All right, let's jump over to wide receiver. We have a wide range of players to cover here. We got our studs, we got our duds, we have some cheap value plays that we can get on. So let's just jump right into it here. JSN at Tennessee, probably not the kind of game that will push JSN to putting up a 40 or a 35er, which is what we would need to make value against this salary level. He hasn't even done that at all year. So I'm just not going to play it. We're probably going to look at a good score. It'll probably be something like a 19 or a 22, but I don't think that at 10K that we need to go there, right? Look how bad the rest of the lineup would look once you start to put somebody that expensive in there. And remember, this is a bargain basement build, right? So you just can't really afford JSN, and then he gets you 20. Amon-Ra, again, a little bit of salary relief here, not that much. I like the matchup really well for Amon-Ra. If I was going to do a dart lineup, I'd actually much prefer to include Amon-Ra if I was going to do a crazy pay up at wide receiver on the slate. So I think he's certainly somebody that I would keep in mind in my dart lineups or certainly stacked up with Goff. CeeDee Lamb, tougher spot against the Eagles here. Eagles defense is really good. So part of the problem with CeeDee Lamb right now, guys, I think he's a little bit overpriced for the role that he now occupies for Dallas, which is no longer the force-fed 15 to 18 targets per game guy. Now they have Pickens. Pickens is a touchdown scorer. CeeDee Lamb only has 2 touchdowns this year. That is disastrous. So until further notice, Lamb is really somebody that would exclusively be stacked for me with Dak Prescott or, probably in better matchups than this, right? So this is not the best spot for Lamb on paper. Chase suspended for spitting in someone's face. I got to tell you something. I think he should been, I love Chase. He probably should have gotten a longer suspension. To me, you spit in somebody's face, that might as well be punching them in the face. Same thing. No difference. So good on the NFL for suspending him there. Drake the Snake London out for multiple weeks. That just opens up Darnell Mooney. And by the way, Jamar Chase normally would open up T. Higgins for a smash game, which might happen here. But they also have Yoshivas. And I'm kind of interested in Yoshivas because I do think that the Patriots will use Christian Gonzalez, Gonzo, as they call him, on T. Higgins, which should open things up for Yoshivas. How crazy is that? Justin Jefferson, no. Rashee Rice, yes. Right? So Rashee Rice, stack it up, stack it in. Let me begin. I came to win with Mahomes. It's not a sin. Stacking him with Mahomes in this game. This is a game I want to build around. So Rice will probably be somebody that I focus more on my Mahomes lineups or my Danny Jones lineups and bringbacks. This price point, though, still a little spendy. He has not been getting it done the last few weeks in terms of making value. You got a couple games here, 19, 17. Remember, 8K, 8, 16, 24. So we're a little bit below, but this is one of those games that could set up nicely. It's just a tough price to pay. AJ Brown, another guy. I don't really get this salary level. The guy's averaging 9.9 fantasy points per game, and he's priced here. Come on. What are you guys doing? The guy's averaging 10 fantasy points per game. It's not that good, right? This guy's getting 20. It's not that much more expensive, like 9,800. I pay the extra 2,000 to double the average fantasy points per game. Like, what the hell? That being said, AJ Brown will have a good game at some point. He's certainly somebody that I will allow into some of my Jalen Hurts lineups, but he's not hitting this year. He's not hitting. Even when they're trying to force feed him passes, 11 targets, 7 receptions, still only got an 8 against Detroit. Where are you going to do better than against Detroit at home? I mean, that's the ultimate matchup. It's not getting better than that. So I think it's going to continue to be an uneven, let's call it an inconsistent struggle for Brown, but he will have those games where he pops. And we saw this one. Of course, Devontae Smith outscored him there. So he will continue to have some of those games where he pops. It's just not consistent. Pickens here, T. Higgins at 75. Pickens is okay. I think I prefer Pickens. The problem is Pickens had the big week last week, but he just gets a better matchup against the Eagles. So probably avoid Quinyon Mitchell and some of those better Eagles defensive backs. Not that their whole secondary is really good, so it's fine. But maybe this is Pickens. I like the price. I like the savings over CeeDee Lamb at this point. T. Higgins there. DK Metcalf, absolutely not. Chris Olave. Last game with Tyler Shook, this guy had a game. 8 targets, 5 receptions, 100 yards, touchdown. Can he do it again? I mean, it would be a miracle, but I could see it, right? 7,300, not that bad. Devontae Smith, I like him as well. If I'm going to play a wide receiver from the Eagles, I'm going to prefer Smith. He's just had a better connection with Jalen Hurts this year. Jamo Williams, price is coming up. He's had a couple good weeks. They seem to be emphasizing getting him the rock. So, I'd be fine with that. I'll have him in my player pool a little bit. Here's Rome Odunze at 6,900. Rome Odunze either helps you win a tournament or destroys your lineup. There's like no in between with this guy. And this could be one of those up games. So I'm certainly going to stack him up again with Caleb in those. But I think there's some standalone appeal here at 6,900 going up against effectively the league bottom pass defense of the Steelers. Yeah, Addison here, no. Diggs, mid, right? It's okay. I mean, it's all right against Cincinnati. The matchup is good. Michael Pittman, not bad. KC really good against WR1s, so be aware. But I do think KC sells out to stop the run in this game, which should open things up in the passing game. I prefer Alex Pierce, but Pittman is certainly acceptable. I just want to target this game. Look at Michael Wilson. Salary up. Priced him up. What are they doing? Now 6,300. So we get no bargain for Michael Wilson, but doesn't matter. Go right back to it. Go right back to it. Brissett, Wilson, Saul, good, man. Other spots of interest, like I said, Alec Pierce, fine by me, both in a Mahomes lineup or as a bringback or in a Danny Jones lineup. Probably not a great standalone play, but I definitely will have some Alex Pierce exposure. Christian Watson stepping up as the WR1 now for the Packers. Who knew? Who knew? This guy has been sitting on my IR in Dynasty for years at this point, it feels like, and he's finally emerging from his cocoon like a beautiful butterfly. Spread your wings, Christian Watson. Spread your wings and fly. Realistically, I just give him a couple of weeks before he's back on the IR. I would love, though, for that not to happen. I would love for that not to happen. All right, let's keep it going here. But Christian Watson, the touchdown score, I actually don't mind him in the spot, right? That'd be cool. Okay, gets touchdowns. He's nice, cheap. Look at all this money. Look at all the salary we have left. You actually need to do that if you want to play the stud tight end. But let's keep going. There's a few more spots I want to talk about down here. Jacoby Myers, interesting as a bring back piece in this Arizona game. If I'm playing Jacoby, Brissett, maybe Jacoby, same lineup. Xavier Worthy, nothing more than a one-off stack with Mahomes type piece. He can get it done, but he hasn't. Averaging just 6. Oh, what a terrible. Oh, so brutal. What a terrible season Xavier Worthy is having. You wish you traded him away in Dynasty before the season started because this guy has dumped all over your team. Wandy, playable with Dart. Why not? I got Dart in there. Wandale, for all of his flaws, continues to see lots and lots of targets. He's 5,900, 9, 11, 11. This wasn't even, this was Dart. This was JMO. 11, 11, 4, 12. But these are the Dart games. 12, 4, 11, 11. 3 out of 4, double-digit targets. Has he done anything with it? Not quite. But if he gets the touchdown, 12 and a half, 9 and a half turns into 16, 17, which is plenty. You need about an 18-pointer. I like this spot for Wandy. Darnell Mooney, another one. We got to talk about Darnell here. Atlanta no longer has Kirk Cousins. The captain is down. Or not Kirk Cousins. Sorry. Drake London. They don't have Drake London anymore. He's out probably for the rest of the season. So they're going to have to throw it to Darnell. Darnell has not had the greatest of seasons so far. The targets have been there. Realistically, it's just not been good. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I will say this about Mooney. He does have a history of good games, specifically with Kirk Cousins. So he's had some big games with Cousins at the helm before Cousins got hurt. And so maybe that's our angle here. Maybe Cousins has a nice connection with Darnell. I don't know. All I know is they're going to have to throw to him. Will he catch it? That's a whole other story. All right, I want to keep going because there are a couple of players down here in the bargain zone that I think we can get on and have some success. So let's go down here to really the bottom tier of pricing for wide receivers this week. And again, you might be saying, Kev, you have all the salary left over. Why? Why do you need less expensive? Because that's what we're doing here. We're trying to find some of the cheaper, viable plays that could pop for us. That's how you win tournaments, right? Mix those up with studs. I did that last week. Sadly, the studs I mixed them up with, a lot of them were Chase and Puka, and they didn't really work. But we were our heart was in the right place, and we were on the right track. So let's get back into this one. Parker Washington, right? I already like Brissett. I'm looking for bringbacks. Maybe Parker Washington had a bunch of good games, kind of tailed off last week against the Chargers, didn't do anything. Concerning, but he's had tons of high target volume games in recent times. I think we go right back to that. Of course, maybe Jacoby Myers is eating into that a little bit. I don't know. Jay Moore, meh, right? Just a piece that you might stack in a Caleb lineup, nothing more, nothing less. But Andre Yoshivas, right, with Jamar Chase out this week, is going to sit, and he's going to be in the game the whole time as the WR2. This is a very playable spot this week. I think a lot of people are going to be scared. They're going to be scared of it. I'd say don't be scared. That's churlish. Don't be scared. You could play some Yoshivas here. The Bengals are at home. They've got Flacco in there. He's going to sling it no matter what. He's going to throw that. He's going to sling the rock. And I do think that the Patriots will easily be able to hone in on T. Higgins. At least I would expect them to do that, which could open things up for Yoshi. Jerry Jeudy here. 5,600. That's another spot that I'm kind of interested in. I think Shedeur Sanders changes the dynamic of the team. Is it for the better? Is it for the worse? I don't know, but it's worth taking a shot on Judy. He did have a pretty big game a couple of weeks ago, got some targets this past week. None of it matters. New quarterback, new dynamic, new thing, but he is clearly the WR1 for his team. And at that price, 5,600 against the worst defense in the league, why not, right? Just go to Judy, take the risk in tournaments. That's what I'm going to do. Scrolling down, anyone else of interest here? Not really, right? Not really. Donnie, nah. Imagine the Donnie Mitchell goes off, something like that. But for the most part, no. All right. We're mostly filled out here. We've got some spots we can upgrade, lots of salary left over. Let's finish this up with a discussion of the tight end position for NFL Week 12. But of course, if you're enjoying this breakdown, let me know who your starting quarterback wide receiver stack is on FanDuel this week. Who are you building around? Who do you think can pop off? What about stud running backs? Let us know in the comments section what you're going to do. Remember last week, a lot of the commenters on our videos got us on Sean Tucker. Who's the Sean Tucker of this week? Let me know in the comments. All right, tight end position, FanDuel NFL Week 12, starting at the top. Of course, Trey McBride is a great play. The guy's been on fire, okay? He's averaging 15.5, 25, 26, 24. The Jacoby Brissett starts for McBride have been spectacular. I'm going to go right back to it. Like, I am down with McBride. Great play. Bowers, on the other hand, I'm less excited about. Cleveland matchup is tough. And he's too close in price to McBride. You just go McBride there. But if we want to pay down, Tyler Warren, 6,500 in this wonderful matchup or this amazing game that I'm just trying to get a piece of against KC, that's fine too. Kelsey only with Mahomes and sparingly. Dallas Goedert probably only with Hurts, but I'm interested in it. Scroll down. Theo with Jackson Dart is fine. Let's see what Theo's been doing, right? 8. Last time Dart played, didn't do much with Winston, but had a nice little game with Dart his last time out. So if we're going all the way down here, Theo mildly interesting. Juwan Johnson continues to have pretty good games as well. He's had a great season. And if we're, again, the further down we're looking to pay, these are some plays that are in. Oh, I forgot to talk about one player at wide receiver. Luke. Luke is about to take this league by storm. Now, the reason I mention him before, again, sorry I broke up the order because I forgot about this. Burden last week elevated to something like 70% snap count with Olamide Zaccheaus dropping, meaning that it is possible that the Bears coaching staff have figured out that Burden is really good and he needs to be on the field. And we could see the breakout this week. They're at home. They've got a great matchup. And the best part is he's 4,700. No one's going to play him. So I want you to keep Luke Burden in mind this week as a potential smash for sub 5K on FanDuel. Of course, I like him in stacks with Caleb, but I also think that there's some standalone, hey, $4,700 guy only needs to do a little bit to produce a ton of production. But keep in mind, this is jumping on the bandwagon maybe a week too soon. So if we do it and it doesn't work, that does not mean we should abandon it. We should just, hey, maybe we got on there a little too soon. We'll do it again next week. But I like Luther Burden. I love his snap share increasing. And unless somebody has some other reason why he jumped in snap count so aggressively this past week, other than like the team is figuring it out, I don't have any other reasoning. So I'm going to assume that that's true. If you have another idea, if you're like, no, they punished this guy or Olamide, let me know in the comments. All right, back to tight end. Sorry about that one. I forgot to mention the kid, so I wanted to make sure that I said that. All right, so scrolling down here, tight end position. Yeah, Juwan Johnson's been okay. Hunter Henry. Loveland's been okay. I think there's some interesting playable spots like at the very, very bottom here. But the one name that pops up the most is probably going to be Kyle Pitts because Drake London is out. And now Pitts will have to function much more as a wide receiver. He's 4,900. And again, if you play a Pitts, a $4,900 tight end here, again, we need Cousins not to be fully washed for this to work. But from here, I've got $7,800 that I can make upgrades to this lineup. So this is how I like to sort of get my start on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Build what is sort of my favorite bargain play type lineup, and then say, all right, from here we can upgrade wherever we want. I don't want Gainwell You are like, you know, a lot of times that lineup looks like shit. Where's the stud running backs? Well, put one in. There you go. Jahmyr Gibbs, you got 5K left. You want another stud? Okay. Well, who else, right? You want to go from Wandale to a stud wide receiver? You can do it. Go all the way up to JSN. You can spend whatever you want. So with that being said, that's it for the FanDuel NFL Week 12 first look. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate you being subscribed here to the DFS Army YouTube channel to get all the video breakdowns, get notifications, all that good stuff. Guys, if you want to check out DFS Army, promo code Geek, 10% off, VIP, that's what you want to do. Covers all sports. Good luck this week, everyone. Take care and helmets up.